Right, so I got asked a question by a guy earlier, and I'm not going to name him, but he wants some help because he's having problems with his ex-girlfriend who recently split up with him. She was with him for more than a year, and the question that he had is, how do I get her back when she has now set herself up with another guy, or she's at least chasing another guy and been seeing him on some level at least. So there's a couple of things I need to say first. The first one is that my advice to him, if he just asked for open-ended advice, would be to forget about her and move on, because she's not going to treat him well, and what he's found out is that she's not the right girl, and just to crack on with his life and treat himself with the respect of moving on. So that's the first thing. I think he ought to move on. The second thing is that there's no guarantee that any piece of advice is going to work. Every situation is different. Every person is different. I don't even know the girl involved, and I definitely don't know the other guy involved. So with such a patchy piece of jigsaw puzzle to work everything out with, I can't say for certain that I've got a full enough grasp of the situation. However, that said, he did ask me for advice, and I'm now going to give him the best advice that I can give to somebody who wants to get the girlfriend back in that situation and is not prepared to move on. I'll add to that, I've been in this situation myself before, so I know what it's like, and I think this advice I'm about to give is pretty powerful. For those of you who look at my stuff a lot, you'll be familiar with the OODA loop, which is a decision-making cycle, and you can use it to analyse your own decisions and to work out the background of somebody else's decisions so that you can exert more influence over the decisions that they're making. Game is all about interactions and communication, and part of communication is trying to exert influence over other people's decisions. That's a natural part of communication. It's one of the main reasons why we communicate ever, if you think about it. So understanding the OODA loop is central to what I'm going to say now. However, I'm not going to post another video explaining the OODA loop. You need to go back and watch other videos I've posted that explain that, so that you understand where I'm coming from. But the central point that I'm going to make now is a very, very important point to understanding the OODA loop in total, and it's a very important point when you're thinking about somebody's decision making. It's to understand that you don't want to convince somebody that they should do something in a logical way. You should motivate them in an emotional way to do something. And the reason for that is that most decisions are based on the orient phase of the OODA loop. Again, you need to go back to a video where I talk about this. So you need to understand that the important thing is the orient phase of the OODA loop, really, when it comes down to what decision is likely to be made. And you need to give the person observations that are likely to set up their orient phase in a way that is going to support your objectives from that interaction with them. So I've been thinking today about how best to answer this question in a concise way, and I've already waffled too long, so I'm going to use an analogy. Those of you that know me will know that I love to use analogy when I'm teaching. The analogy that I'm going to use: you're in a really posh town, it's really wealthy and affluent, and there's a market in this town, and it's not just some cheap market that you go to buy things at a low price. It's a really, really good, nice, well-considered market that people with money will go to. It's high-end, it's high class. In this market, there are two stalls that both sell coats, and they're at opposite ends of the square, and they can see each other. A woman approaches your stall, and she starts looking at your top of the range coat, and you've only got one of these in stock. You own this stall. Now, in the analogy, that's like the relationship that this guy has had with his girlfriend for a year. So this woman isn't just taking a cursory glance at the coat. She's seriously interested in it. She's taking a really long, hard look at this coat, and she's thinking about buying it for the long term. So she's looking at it, what it can do, what it does in different situations, asking questions about it, trying to find out more about the coat and how it's going to be when she wears it in different weather conditions and things like that. Is it waterproof? How many pockets has it got? all those sorts of things. And also she's making observations about how the shop owner treats the coat that he's going to sell her. Because if he treats it with more respect, she's going to see that that coat must be more valuable, and her perception of its value will rise. Whereas if he treats it with low respect, it'll drop. So anyway, in this analogy, the woman's taken a really good, long, hard look at the coat. And after a while, she's thought about it, and she's decided that maybe she's not that keen. And she's turned around, and she's started walking over to the guy who owns the other shop that sells coats at the other side of the market. Because it's a market, it's outside, you can see this happening. The other guy at this point hasn't been watching the woman, so he doesn't know where she's been or what she's been doing unless she decides to tell him. And you don't know about the interaction that she's going to have with that guy. You don't know if she's told him about what went on with you, or if she's kept that a secret. You don't know that. And you don't know what he's saying to her. You just know that now she's checking out his top of the range coat, and maybe she thinks it's better than yours. Okay, now take it back a step to the point where she's walking across the square towards his stall, and you can see that that's happening. If you're a guy and you're in a relationship and you've lost the woman, the temptation is to chase her and say, no, listen, please, let's talk about this. And then have a logical conversation where you convey to her logically why she should stay with you, logically why she's making a mistake, but emotionally you're conveying that you're afraid of her leaving you. Essentially what you're doing when you're chasing the woman who's looking at the coats in that situation, in the analogy that would be the same as chasing her and dropping the price, and dropping the price, and dropping the price, and dropping the price. And if she gets to the point where she goes over to the other guy, and she's interacting with him about his coat, if you're still chasing her at that point, effectively what you're doing on an emotional level is chasing her and saying, it's okay, you can have my coat for free. You can have my coat for free, and you can come back to it whenever you want, and you can have it for free. What you've done now is you've given her a safe place, and you've said to her, it's okay, you're safe to go over there and talk to that guy about that coat, because my coat is here waiting for you, and you can have it free. So now she's perfectly emotionally, she feels perfectly stable. It's not a logical thing she's doing. She feels perfectly happy and secure in going over, checking out the other coat, maybe deciding it's amazing and taking that coat, and getting more emotionally aroused as she sees the amazing things it can do, knowing full well that if she wants to, she can walk back and take your coat for free whenever she wants. And that's what you're doing if you chase her. Emotionally, even if you feel like that inside, you cannot send her that message. Think instead what you could do. You need to take away her safe place. That coat that you've got might go, because you've only got one, and you know it's the shit, even if she doesn't know. So this coat, what you're going to do is you're going to let other people look at this coat. That's like letting other girls talk to you. I'm not saying that you need to be going around sleeping with loads of other girls, but interacting with them, flirting with them, having fun, going out with your mates, meeting new people, and not trying to show the other girl, because if it looks like you're trying to, it shows that you're emotionally invested in her. You need to be the guy who owns the coat shop, or the coat stall, and he's so sure that his coat is awesome, that he just is like, fuck this, yeah, this coat's amazing, I can just chill, and people are going to come flooding to my coat. In real life, of course, you need to be going out having interactions, but you're not trying to show her that. You just know that she will notice. But if you're trying to convey it to her, you're making a bad mistake. So you're just letting yourself flirt with other people, meet other people, and have fun. That might be hard, it might be an act, but you've got to do it. And you cannot let her see that you're interested in her interaction about the other coat, because it conveys neediness, which you can't afford to do. Supposing that you manage not to convey neediness, and that she picks up on the fact, and if you think about it, that's what she would do. She goes over to this other coat, she's not sure if she can afford it. And that's an analogy for the guy who she's now gone to is maybe going to mess her around. She doesn't know. You've got to hope that he does, really. You've got to hope that he doesn't quite give her enough validation. She'll want it from somewhere else. And that's when she'll look over her shoulder at your coat stall. And when she looks over her shoulder, she's going to see that you're flirting with other people, meeting other people, having fun with other people, and that your life hasn't stopped. And you've got a new job, and that you're out there go-getting, not being lazy and falling into the bad patterns that you were in when you were with her. You're doing all the cool stuff. What's she likely to do? If that guy fucks up and he doesn't give her enough validation, at that point, and she looks over her shoulder, she's likely to panic because she sees her safe place is gone. What's she likely to do? is scurry back over and make sure the deal's still on with you. Can she still have that coat? Can she still have it for free? And this is where most guys will go wrong. And it's where I went wrong when I was in this situation before. I gave the reassurance too quickly. You don't want to be quick to give the reassurance. You want to be, well, you know, I'm a busy guy. I've got stuff going on. I'll talk to you, yeah, like, and I hope things are going well for you. But you don't want to be reassuring her straight away that she can have that coat back. She needs to work for it. And as she works for it, that's when she perceives your value as higher, because she's having to put some effort in and expend effort to get the validation that she wants. And you never give her quite enough. You give her some, enough to keep her coming back, because if you completely cut her off, that'll end the relationship completely. But she's got to initiate, she's got to be seeking your validation, and you've got to withhold it and just give her slightly less than she wants all the time. And that way, you might get your girl back. Can't promise it, but it's the strongest way that you can do it. You need to go out, you need to do new stuff, be a go-getter, flirt with other girls, and trust that she's going to see it happen. But you can't be needy, you can't try and communicate with her, and you can't chase her. You'll set her orient phase of a OODA loop up so strongly that when she looks over her shoulder, she's likely to come running back to you. And I hope that helps.